Okay. There's Octave. I have it open already. And I already did the program. I sent you 3 files this morning. Okay. Heavy side, which is the unit step function. Dig impulse, which is the impulse function, and ramp, which of course is the ramp function. You need to put them in your current directory. If you can see my screen up here, my current directory is this. And if you go to the editor in Octave, you'll see your current directory. And that's where you need to put those 3 files. Okay. Now, here's the impulse file. Okay. It is simple. It is just the unit step function minus the delayed unit step function. Okay. Remember, heavy side is the step function, the unit step function. Now, I want to show you how to plot. Here, I think I plot in 2 impulses. Okay. There's my x right there. There's my n vector. My n vector, I'm going from -5 to 10. Okay. So n is an integer because the spacing is 1. And then there's my first impulse, my delayed impulse at 3, n equals 3. And I'm adding to that another delayed impulse delayed by 5. And then I plot that, but I want to get that special plot you see in the book where the plots don't join the y values together, and that plot is called stem. So stem is just a way of plotting that. Okay. So I go to command window and I call this up. Sum of impulses. There we go. There it is right there. And let me see if I could find that. There we go. Sum of impulses. Hit return. And there it is. Okay. There's the impulse. There's n equals 0, n equals 1, 2, 3. Okay. 4, 5. And there's the impulse at n equals 5. Any questions about this? Okay. I hear no questions.
How did you bring up the figure again? I saw the code you had typed in, but
I just, okay, let me go back. I just called up the file. The file I created is this, sum of impulses. That's the file I created. And then I go to the command window and I call up that file. I tell that file to run. And when it runs, the instructions in that file say print the figure. Did you follow that, Mr.
Johnson? Yes, sir.
Johnson? Okay. Now let's go to my pad. What's the equation for x of n? What's the equation for x of n? Nobody can tell me the equation for x of n? Well, when you look at this graph, what do you see?
X at 0 is 3 on the y-axis.
That's all you see?
And then I see X of 1 is 3.5, and then X of 2 looks like 3. And then I see X at 0. X at 3 is 0, and then X at 4 is 0.
All right. Well, that's supposed to be x4. What you should see is the sum of three impulses. That's what you should see. The sum of three impulses. There's impulse at n equals 0. There's impulse at n equals 1. There's impulse at n equals 2. What's the equation for the impulse of n equals 0? What's that equation?
Is the delta n?
Delta of n? That's it?
Well, and it would be delta open bracket 0 close bracket plus delta 1 close bracket plus delta open bracket 2 close bracket or something like that.
No.
Would it be like 3 times delta of n?
Thank you very much. 3 times delta of n. That's the first impulse. That's this impulse. All right. What's the next impulse?
Oh, it'd be 4 delta of n.
No.
4 delta of not n. You gotta get right to 1.
Yes, n minus 1.
N minus 1, yes. And what's the last impulse?
That's 3 delta open bracket n minus 2.
N minus 2. And now let's do that in octave. First of all, any questions about that? Any questions about that equation?
You said that's called the sum of the impulse?
Are we not summing impulses?
All right, just making sure. But yes, sir, we are adding them together.
In terms of x, what is this? What is 3 in terms of x?
0.
3 is 0 in terms of x? 3 equals 0? Is that not x of 0? Is x of 0 not 3? Look at the graph. What is x of 0? Is 0. X of 0 is 3. X of 0 delta of n. What's 4?
X of 1.
X of
Four.
1. X of 1 delta of n minus 1. What's this? The second 3.
Three would be 0.
How can 3 be 0, young man? How can 3 equal 0?
Oh, sorry, my bad. 1.
How can 3 equal 1?
That'll be x of 2.
That'd be x of 2. Thank you very much. X of 2. Okay. Or we can write this succinctly as, this waveform is k equals 0 to k equals 2 of x of k delta n minus k. When we expand this, we get this. Okay, so this is x of n. And in general, x of n, there are no negative values, k equals 0 to infinity of x of k delta n minus k. That's how a general digital signal can be written. Let's go back. Any questions about that before I go on? What am I missing? Kerr. This is Kerr. Okay. Any questions about this? Okay. Let's now show graphically that this equation is correct using octave. So again, I go to the editor. I go to this line here that defines x.
You're supposed to be sharing your screen, Dr. God, right?
Okay. I need to share the entire screen. Give me a second. Okay, you see it now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I go to line 27. I have 3 impulses. The first one is 3. Times the digital impulse, n minus 0. And then the second one is at 4. And that's at 1. That's delayed at 1. And the last one is 3 times digital impulse of n minus 2. And what happened? Where did it go? Save it. And then we go back to the command window and we call it up again. And there it is. So at n equals 0, it's 3 high. Excuse me?
No, I was asking, after you click the last line, you just click enter, right?
Yes.
Right.
There's my 3, there's my 4, there's my 3 again. Proving that this waveform is the sum of 3 impulses. Any questions about that? And this is just review what we did in 320. Okay. In 320, we wouldn't be calling this delta of n, we'd be calling this delta of t. Okay. Back to the pad. All right. Everybody has a flip of this.
Give me 1 minute. I got.
All right. So by email, send me a plot. Send me a plot of that. Not a sketch. I don't mean use Octave now. I mean just sketch this out.
Hey, Dr. Cartwright, is that negative delta?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Roll, you're right, except your your X and Y label axes are not labeled. Yes, Mr. Beauchamp, you're right. All right, pay attention, please. We must label this X of n. Here's n. This 0. This 1. This 2. This 3. This is -1. And this is n. Okay. And this first impulse is negative and is 1 long. And the second impulse is too high. I hope the rest of you got that.
Was there any way to plot the X of n? Or
What's your question?
never mind. I see where you plot X of n. You just put it
Dr. Gadre,
to the rest.
Dr. Gadre, I understand the -1 plot, but the -2 plot as threw me off.
You see -2 plot?
No, not -2, +2. That +2 plot, wouldn't that be go down to -2?
It's +2 and it should go to -2?
Yes, sir.
It's +2 and it should go to -2?
Yes, sir. That's what I
But
had.
but listen to what you're saying. You're telling me it's +2, but yet you want to go to -2. How does that make any sense?
No, you see how your +2 on the n-axis goes the +2 on the x-axis. It would be the same except the 2, instead of going to the +2 on the x-axis, it would go to -2. That's what I had before, but I noticed that's wrong.
Young man, were you paying attention at all last class?
I just trying to get the concept.
Tell me in English what this means. That's not part of it. The part I circled in red. Tell me in English what that means.
That means the plot, the point at -2 would be -2 on the n-axis, right?
No.
No.
That means that's the impulse that's been delayed by 2.
Delayed by 2.
That's been shifted. That's been shifted to the right by 2. This means that's the impulse that's been delayed by 1.
This would be shifted to the right by 1.
Yes.
Okay. So
And what does delta of n plus 3 look like? What does that look like?
that would be shifted to the left by 3, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Then at -3. Then at -3. There'll be 1 high.
Oh. All right. I understand that, but what this is in front of this n to the front here for the first shift, is that a -8?
That's negative delta.
Oh, okay. All right, okay. Never mind. I understand now. Okay. All right. Yeah, I didn't understand now because the delta would be 1, right? would be the negative, where you get to shift to the -1 on the x-axis. All right. I understand, Dr. Carter.
Alrighty. I hope so. But it's amazing that you go through 320 and don't know this. That's just amazing. It's amazing that you could be in my class, last class, and
Man,
didn't.
just refreshing the memory, man. Just refreshing the memory.
No. This ain't got to do with memory. This got to do with understanding. Anyway, better late than never. I'm going to call this Y now. We don't always have to call it X. We call it Y. And this goes on forever. That's one high. What's the equation of this?
Well, if I had to guess, I would say y of n equal delta open bracket n to infinity.
No. I don't know why you're guessing. I just gave you this answer on page 1. The answer is on page 1 of today's lesson.
Yeah, I see it.
Well, I don't know why you just guessed what you guessed. The answer is y of n equals delta of n plus delta of n minus 1 plus delta of n minus 2 plus delta of n minus 3 plus delta of n minus 4 all the way up to delta of n minus infinity. There are infinite number of impulses, an infinite number. And how do we write that succinctly? Y of n equals sum from k equals 0 to infinity of what? Delta of n, delta of n minus k. See? That's just a special case of the last equation I gave you on page 1. Any questions about that? What do we normally call y of n? What do we normally call y of n? We have retained nothing. We have retained nothing from 320. What's the orange? Well, it looks like red on the screen. From 320, what's the orange? unit step function u of t. That's the orange. The dots, u of n. The unit step function for digital. This is a digital step function. So what do we just show? The digital step function is an infinite sum of impulses. That's what we just showed. Because y of n is u of n. Any questions about that?
So, Dr. Goddard, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
What if on the negative side, on the negative side, instead of being 0 height, it was 1 height? Like everything from negative to positive, negative infinity to positive infinity was 1 height.
Well, you tell me. What's u of n then?
I'll say u of n equal k equal negative infinity. Then on the top you put infinity and you put delta.
No, give me the equation first of all. Don't tell me what it's equal to. What you asking is this. You're asking what is the equation of this. That's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's just one.
It's just one. So that'd be y of n equals 1. But if you want to write that 1 in terms of impulses, then it's what? K equals negative infinity, the positive infinity of what? Delta of n minus k. This is a complicated way of writing 1.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So let's do that. Let's do that in octave. But first of all, let me see something else. Okay. All right, let's all see my octave screen.
Yeah, we can see it now.
All right. So let me show you. Let me plot. So edit the unit step function. Dot m. Okay. going to say it doesn't exist. Do I want to create it? Yes. Create. All right. Do I have too many things open? Is that the problem?
I see a black arrow in the corner. You could probably try.
Yeah, I tried that. And there it is. There it is. Okay. Unit-step function. So define my n variable. So let's go for n equals -5. N equals 10. Okay. My x is heavy side, because that's what I call it. Heavy side is unit-step function in octaves, and stem and comma x label and y label x of n. Okay. Title. The one. Part of step.
So I've got right field Y label. Why you put X of N instead of U?
Because I'm calling my function x. Why I'm calling it x, I didn't call it u.
Yes, sir.
But if you want me to call this u, I can call it u. Except that I'm going to do some things in a few minutes, and it won't be u. All right, so file, save file, go back to command window, and call the unit step function. Okay, now what do you see? What's the problem?
So why at n equals 0? It wasn't going straight up to 1.
Yes, because you have to be careful. Some programs, you see, this is a problem. This is a problem not in digital so much, but in continuous time. At t equals 0, what's the value of u? At t equals 0, what's the value of u? What is the value of the unit step function at t equals 0? No, it's undefined. The unit step function in 320 was for t greater than 0, it's 1. For t less than 0, it is 0. But at t equals 0, it's undefined. That is not true in digital. In digital, it is defined at n equals 0 to be 1. And to make that happen, I have to modify my command a little bit. I purposely did this. So you see here, x equals Heaviside and comma 1. And comma 1 means at n equals 0, make it 1. That's what n comma 1 means in octave. So let's save the file. And let's do it again. And I didn't save the file. Go back here. File. Save file. There it is. There it is. So when you use Heaviside, you got to remember that comma 1. So there's the unit step function. It's called Heaviside. Why is it called Heaviside, by the way? I told you this in 320. It's called a Heaviside function. Anybody remember? No, of course not. Y'all can't remember what we did last class. The English engineer by the name of Heaviside first introduced this idea of the unit step function. So sometimes, instead of being called a unit step function, it's called a Heaviside function. That's the man's name. All right, now let's do a delayed version of that now. I'll move it the other way. Let's delay it now. N minus 3. So now this is the delayed step function. Delayed step function. And there it is 0, 1, 2, 3. This is the delayed step function. Any questions about that?
Can I see what you put in for it to be delayed, please?
Young man, you tell me, what do you need to do to make delay it? Tell me before I go there. Tell me what you need to do to delay it.
-3. I mean -3.
Yes. So that's what I did. Let me show you. See it there? Line 27?
Yeah, I see it.
All right. So there's no mystery to this. You delay it by 3, then it's -3. All right. Let me go back to my writing pad for a second. Here I'm going to ask you a question. I know you won't be able to answer it. I just showed you that U of n is an infinite sum of impulses. And 320, all is U of t related to the impulse function. And 320, all is U of t related the impulse function. It's the integral. It's the integral. So you see,
Never mind.
excuse me?
Never mind. I can wait till you finish.
Well, I am finished. Except
No.
that,
I was asking what would under the derivative of one of them is the ramp function do or something like that.
well, I'm going to ask you that in a second. Here we see the integral is replaced by what? An infinite sum. And that's what integral is. An integral is an infinite sum. So I want you to see the similarities. But of course, the similarities mean nothing to you because you can't remember 320. All right, now take a picture of this, please, because I'm going to the next slide.
Don't move it yet. Thank you.
All right. How is delta of t? How is delta of t related to the unit step function?
That should be the derivative, right?
Yeah. Delta of t is the root of u of t. How is delta of n related to u of n?
Wouldn't that be? Hold on.
Some kind of inverse. Uh,
Some kind of what, Mr. Johnson?
inverse. I don't know.
Inverse? What does that mean? Inverse of what?
I don't know.
So why are you using words you don't understand? You don't impress me when you guess willy-nilly. I don't mind students guessing, but the guess has to make some kind of sense. All right, let me remind you of U of N. This is U of N. This is 1. And this is 0. Okay. And what we want to end up with, we want to end up with this. That's what we're going to end up with. What do we do with this? What can we do with this to get the bottom?
Filter.
Filter?
No, not filter. No, I know what I wanted to use. We got to block with everything that it's greater than 0.
And how are you going to do that? All right, let me ask a question another way. Let me ask a question that should make it easier. What do you add? What do you add to this top to get the very bottom?
-1.
Really? So -1, -1, -1 gives you 0. You're on the right track, though. You just need to modify your answer a little bit.
So you're trying to say I should add -1 to all the values greater than 0.
And how do you do that? You create this function here. And lo and behold, 0 minus 0 is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. 1 plus -1 is 0. 1 plus -1 is 0. What do we call this function here? What's the equation of this function here?
That'll be negative delta n minus 1. Then you do the same thing over again and put n minus 2, then -3, then -4.
What's this bottom graph? What is this bottom graph in terms of step functions? What's this middle graph in terms of step functions? If I say write that middle graph in terms of the step function, what would you write?
Like U of T minus 1.
Say again?
Like U of T minus 1.
U of P
U
minus.
of T.
We're not dealing with T, young man.
So that'll be
Wow.
negative U of n.
No, all the bottom's not negative U of n. I mean, the middle is not negative U of n.
So it would be negative U of n, negative U, open bracket n minus 1.
Yes, it is. This middle graph here is negative U of n minus 1. This is delayed. This is delayed by 1 step function. Delayed by 1. So delta of n then. Delta of n is U of n minus U of n minus 1. U of n minus U of n minus 1. There it is. There it is. So in terms of octave, delta of n is heavy side, okay, n, 1, minus heavy side and minus 1, comma 1. And that's what I sent you. Let's go there. Added the other place. See there? You see it on the screen? You see digital impulse on screen?
Yes, sir.
And it's equal to what? Heavy side. Return value means RET bit val is return value means that's the digital impulse. The digital impulse is heavy side and comma 1. That's the unit step function minus a delay by 1 unit step function. So the code I sent you, the M files I sent you, really is no mystery. Any questions about that? Again, I point this out in our very first class. The derivative is replaced by a difference equation. On our very first class, I told you, continuous time we use differential equations. In digital, we use difference equations. Please get a snip. Please get a snip of page 3, slide 3. Okay. What's G of n in terms of impulses?
Before delta, open bracket, and plus 4 delta, open bracket, n minus 1, plus 4 delta, open bracket, n minus 2, plus 4 delta, n minus 3.
More succinctly, the course is 4. Any questions about that? What's G of n in terms of step functions?
Would that be 4u of n? Plus 4u of n minus 1
Comma 1, 2.
Nobody?
Wouldn't you just minus 4u of n? 4u of n. 4u of n minus 1?
Really?
Wouldn't you add 4u of n minus 1?
I don't know why you're guessing. What do you add to this to get that?
The only thing you possibly add would be the delay.
I don't know why y'all can't reason this out. All right, let me remind you of what you're doing here. What do I add? What do I add to get this? All right, let's go one step at a time then. Since you can't see it right away,
Would it
let's
be
go one
negative?
step.
Hold on.
What do we add to 4 to get 4?
0.
0. What do we add to 4?
Wouldn't it just be at n and at 4? Like you put minus 4u of n minus 4?
We add this function here. Zero, 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 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we add this function. For this function here is 4u of n. What's this function? What's this function?
That's negative 4u of n minus 4.
Negative 4 u of n minus 4. Step function minus delayed step function gives us that. Now, why is that difficult? Let's prove that with octave. Okay. All right. So step function. Use this one. Modify this one. So x is the original step function, but it's 4 high. And we're going to subtract step function that's delayed by 4. And this is plot of g of n. Save this. And then we go back, command window. And we do unit step function. There it is. Demonstrating that I'm right. Or let's do the impulses. Let's do the impulses. Sum of impulses. So the sum of impulses was what? We had 4, 4, and then 4 again, delayed by 1, and then 4 again, delayed by 2, and then 4 again, delayed by 3. Save file, go to the command window, and it's sum of impulses. And there it is. There it is. Which shows you I didn't lie to you. Any questions about this? And there are more examples in the book. Now I want to move on. Take a snip of page 4, please, because I want to move on. Now the ramp function. The ramp function. And how would you describe the ramp function mathematically? If I told you to write equation for R of n, what would you do? And this goes on forever, by the way. I just stopped at 3. This goes on forever. So what's the y values for n greater than or equals 0? What are the y values? The y values for n less than 0, 0. R of n equals 0 for n less than 0. R of n equals what value? What value is R of n equal to? For n greater than or equals 0.
Give me a list of values.
Excuse me?
Give me the list of values.
I want you to give me an equation.
What could you say? 1?
No, you can't say 1.
Is it infinity?
It could be infinity. The y values? The y values are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. How is that infinity? It eventually becomes infinite. But that's not what the graph is saying. I don't think y'all know how to read graphs. R of n equals n. Isn't that right? Look at it. When
right.
n is zero,
Well,
oh, excuse me?
no, I'm saying yeah, right, because whatever n equal to, that's what the y bar, that's what the values on the y will be.
Exactly. Exactly. Because the slope of this line is 1. The x value equals the y value. How do we write this as one equation? How do we write this as one equation? This is called a piecewise equation. We did enough work on this. PIECE, piecewise equation. R of n equals n times u of n. Isn't that right? This value here for n greater than 0 is 1. 1 times n is n. This value here for n less than 0 is 0. N times 0 is 0. So this equation here, this equation, that equation is a ramp function. All right? And the octave I sent you, I call this ramp. All right? Ramp equals n. Ramp of n is n times heavy side n comma 1. And if you look at the code, that's what it says. Well, that's what it should say. I mean, okay, editor. Where's my ramp? There it is. There's my ramp. Yeah, but instead of using n, I use t. Yeah, t times heavy side of t. And the comma 1 doesn't matter because at t equals 0, this 0 is going to make it 0 anyway. I don't have to put the 1 in. The comma 1. So let's plot a ramp function. And I don't know if I did that. So let me create it. So plot of ramp. Dot m.
And this will start it off with edit.
Yes, thank you. Doesn't exist. Do I want to create it? Yes. Create. And there it is. Plot of ramp. So again, I'm given n equals -5, 1, 10. X of n equals ramp of n. Stem n comma x. No, this should just be x, not x of n. X comma x. And x label, y label, and title. You do that. You do that later. Let me go here. Oh, you do. bottom ramp. And bigger ones could be down here. There it is. There it is. Now let's do a delayed ramp. Let's do a delayed ramp. Let's delay by 3. X equals ramp minus 3. File. Save. And there it is, delayed by 3. 0, 1, 2. Yes, 3. Because it starts off at 0. Yeah. 0, 1, 2, 3. That's the delayed ramp. Any questions about this? Okay. I think that's a good place to end for today. You need to be working on your octave skills, because I will ask you to plot an octave. Any questions or concerns?
Why did that last plot look like it delayed by 4?
Because it began at 3, but the value at 3 was 0. The beginning value for ramp is 0 at n equals 0. If it's delayed by 3, then the value at 3 has to be 0.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Dr. God, I wanted to start that the proposal for the senior design you to send me last term.
Well, you don't give me shit yet.
Yeah, I want started, so I probably could start working on it this weekend.
All right, didn't I tell you, give you instructions on what you should do first?
I have to go find them now.
Yeah, that's a good plan. And Mr. Kerr's not with us yet, eh? All right. I don't know what it means, because he can't get online at home or wherever he's at. Well, what can I say? He missed an important lesson. All right. Yeah, but getting the notes and understanding the notes are two different things. Anyway, have a good day.
You too, Dr. Right?
All right.